key to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You know what? What can one of these quarterbacks or wide receivers do for me this year to make a wager? It's got to be the running conditions there for Jaden Daniels.
In regards to Jaden Daniels, you know I was on him in regards to the Heisman Trophy. I actually think he's going to do it on the ground, through the air, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, playing in Cliff Kingsbury's offense where he wants to spread it and throw it. I think he's going to put up dynamic numbers.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
He had 4 grabs in the first half for just over 30 yards, was injured, came back in briefly, and then had to be carted off.
We were pessimistic on Puka Nakua's injury to the same right knee, of that being a nothing, just a bursa, and that's it, as per Sean McVay. We felt there could be a small PCL component.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
What do you say, folks? Little Game Time Decisions. We are live with you here on SportsGrid on a Thursday night. I'm Kevin Walsh. We have an hour to run it before your pregame show is officially underway for Thursday night football in the NFC South. The Atlanta Falcons hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a lot on the line within this hour as well. We will quickly stop over to the MLB playoffs as we have our final wild card game tonight in Milwaukee with the Brew Crew and the Mets looking to advance. The winner will play the Philadelphia Phillies. The other 3 DS matchups have already been set and solidified. But let's get to the football tonight with the Falcons hosting the Bucs as 2.5-point favorites. Listed totals 43.5. This number's been on the climb. Not by a lot, but from 1.5 up to 2.5. Probably giving some Falcons bettors nightmares if you were on this team last week. A win but no cover on that 2.5, 3-point line as they win that game 26-24 over the New Orleans Saints. And that game against the Saints, I was someone who was backing New Orleans up against Atlanta, was able to walk away with a cover despite losing that football game. As somebody who has Saints NFC South futures, I was looking for more than just a cover on the +3. I was hoping they would win that game outright. They didn't, and it shifted the odds right now within the NFC South as the Falcons have reclaimed their status as divisional favorites, currently sitting at +165. Tampa Bay, a +195 price. And you see New Orleans there +220. Carolina buried underneath at 18-1, which is exactly where they belong. But what is on the line tonight is the favorite spot in this division. Make no bones about it. If the Falcons win, they'll move to 3-2. Of course, they're going to hold their position with the victory. They'd send Tampa Bay back, and you do have both Carolina and New Orleans booked as underdogs in their Week 5 matchups, especially with where New Orleans is, sitting at 2-2, going to Arrowhead for Monday night. But what if Tampa Bay wins this football game? It's on the board. It's an incredibly short line, plus we've seen countless upsets throughout this NFL season. Well, you would see your +195 number to win the South come crashing down. Their odds to make the playoffs at -115 could very well double to minus 200, even higher. The Bucs would be sat there at 4-1 with victories over the Falcons, the Eagles, and the Lions. That is not only impressive, that is relevant and valuable because you are now dominating in your conference. Those three teams, when you look at Atlanta, Detroit, Philly, were favorites all to win their division. Those would be big names that the Bucs would have underneath their belt, and I think you would see their odds to win the NFC and the Super Bowl all take big drops in a positive or jump up, if you will, where they would now be viewed as a legitimate threat, and that is what is on the line for Tampa Bay. The Falcons, though, still getting a lot more respect even in that big picture market. Not as much to make the postseason. That number is just going to be at minus 128 with 13-1 to win the conference. A full $10 shorter to win the Super Bowl with the Atlanta Falcons. The incredible thing is when we think big picture with Atlanta and Tampa Bay, I struggle to believe that anybody out there would think the Falcons have a better chance to win the Super Bowl over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Atlanta, divisional favorites, I know that has an impact. Kirk Cousins versus Baker Mayfield. I think a lot of people on the surface would run to tell you that Kirk is the better quarterback. One, the early season sample doesn't suggest that, but nor does your postseason sample suggest that. Baker Mayfield, during his time in Cleveland, a postseason victory, and had a competitive matchup with Mahomes and the Chiefs while he was with the Browns. Then, of course, last year, destroying the Philadelphia Eagles, hanging the whole way with the Detroit Lions, who nearly won the conference. Kirk Cousins' whole thing is he can't get it done in a big spot. The one playoff win against New Orleans, and nothing beyond that. I just think it's odd to me, again, if you're betting Falcons futures, that this is a number you could convince yourself on at 30-1. Let's get into some of the options that we have here on our game tonight. As always, it starts with those quarterbacks in Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield. Baker, by the way, is around 28-1 to win NFL MVP. If you missed it on Tuesday's Game Time decisions, we did our KW's Take 5 around the league's MVP, the 5 best bets that you can make inside that market. Baker did not make the cut, largely because I lean towards Atlanta in this game tonight. But a win for Baker, again, sat there at 4-1, who's putting up solid numbers. If you're buying Darnold in the market, how are you selling a Baker Mayfield? The comparison points are all incredibly obvious. Let's put up these props here for these quarterbacks head-to-head tonight when we talk about Baker and Kirk Cousins. You'll notice the Baker Mayfield passing prop higher in this game. Odds to throw a touchdown pass a little bit higher as well, not by a lot, but Baker this season is off to a more prolific start. He's thrown double the touchdowns this year of Kirk Cousins. And I thought the interception market on the two QBs was interesting. Could we see some forced chances? But there's not enough in this for me to bet on these turnovers. I am interested, though, in betting on these backfields tonight. Crowded backfields all of a sudden, and both a bit surprising. Tampa Bay and this Rachaad White, Bucky Irving combination, we only show Bijan here, but maybe some would suggest you should see Tyler Algier, who, from an efficiency perspective, comparable to Bucky Irving, is outperforming the man in front of him. Let's start on Bijan Robinson. For some, one of the two best backs in many, one of the best backs in football. Though, boy, is his performances at Texas carrying a lot of weight to that. I mean, I know Bijan is very good, but it's not all translating out there on the field. When we look at the Bijan options tonight, the number I want is the receiving yards, at 26.5. Bijan has 4 catches in 3 out of the 4 games this season. Now, once he was left under that 26.5 bar. However, let's go back to last year. In games with 4 or more catches, Bijan Robinson had 27-plus receiving yards in all 8 games where he had at least 4 catches. If that workload's going to continue for Bijan, I think he gets through that 26.5. It's my favorite bet you could make on the board tonight. I'll add as well, for Bijan, his receptions prop is 3.5 at around minus 170 on this board. So you see that is where the expectations are still going to be for Robinson tonight. Bucky versus Rashad White. Bucky Irving's been great. He was incredible while at Oregon, and he's kept that level of explosiveness within the NFL. But he has not overtaken this backfield, despite what these numbers suggest. Rashad White's rushing yards prop 10 yards lower than that of Bucky Irving's. The rushing attempts prop, though, is where I found myself focused. I think White is still this lead back. The snap counts all suggest that that is the case, and I think he gets through the 9.5 listed total tonight. And I don't mind some alts on Rashad White, rushing and receiving. The Bucs are not going to abandon White just because we've seen Bucky get off to that hot start. Top pass catchers tonight, we know Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. For Atlanta, it's remarkable that we go Drake London and Darnell Mooney. The eyes tonight will be on Kyle Pitts. Can he catch a pass? Last week, the answer was no. Well, how can you catch a pass when you don't get a target? A top 5 draft choice, Kyle Pitts, last week, not targeted when everybody thought this Atlanta team was going to be the saving grace for him. It has been incredible to watch. There are some Pitts bets I think we can make tonight. I'm involved with Mike Evans as well. We'll get there in a moment. Your anytime touchdown score market, it's Bijan in his own kind of category, around minus 145. Up money everywhere else. I'm going big plus money tonight for the touchdowns. We'll talk about it next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
After a very promising start to this season, could it be already done for KC's wide receiver, Rashee Rice, attempting to make a tackle after Patrick Mahomes threw an interception?
We're used to teams saying, we don't know, MRI. Here, Andy Reid's being a little more honest. He's leaving hope alive, but I think they already know, which is really, really too bad.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back to right here. Little Mike Evans praise. I'm not mad at it. I'm on Mike Evans tonight, shall we? 59.5 receiving yards. That number's too light, in my opinion. So here's the interesting thing. If we look right now through this season, top wide receivers are getting after it versus the Falcons so far. Chris Olave, Rashee Rice, Devonta Smith, and George Pickens all had at least 76 yards. I used Devonta Smith. Remember, A.J. Brown missed that football game, so he was the clear and obvious number one target for Jalen Hurts in that football game. All went for 76-plus yards. If you average their stat lines out over the 4 games, 8.3 catches per game, 89.5 yards, and 2 touchdowns from those 4 guys. So every other guy had a touchdown. Mike Evans had it plus 140. If you're looking for a touchdown, I don't mind it. I understand, though, if you are going to take the statistics I've tossed out and then say, okay, great, I'm going to bet Chris Godwin. Godwin this season has 9 more catches than Mike Evans. He has 5 more targets than Mike Evans. He has over 100 more yards than Mike Evans. The books, though, are booking Godwin like the number 1 wide receiver because of the statistics that I just referenced. Yet I look at last week's game against Philly, a gotta-have-it game if you're Tampa Bay, or at minimum, a gotta-respond game. And while Godwin, 6 grabs for 69 yards on 9 targets is nothing to scoff at, Mike Evans, 8 grabs, 14 targets, 94 yards, and a touchdown. I still believe he is not wide receiver 1 for Baker Mayfield. I like him over the 59.5 receiving yards. I mentioned the touchdown scores. Sprinkle. Light. But it was worth a shot. If you look at the anytime touchdowns, right, we've got the top 10 odds. I am outside the top 10. In fact, the guy that I am betting has what would be bottom 4 odds of the players that are booked. And that would be Kirk Cousins at 18-1. It's worth a shot. It's worth a shot on Kirk Cousins. Because so far this year, we have seen 6 rushing touchdowns come against this Tampa Bay team. 5 of them have been to quarterbacks. Now, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and Jalen Hurts all are significantly more mobile than Kirk Cousins. But 3 of those have been 1-yard rushing touchdowns. Okay? So 4 of those, have been rushing touchdowns by quarterbacks of the 5. And Bo Nix was at the 3-yard line. Maybe we get a Kirk Cousins sneak at 18-1, 17-1. I thought that was worth it there tonight. So just want to let people know that that's where I'm going with that. Now, let me move this over to the running backs in Rachaad White and Bucky Irving. Because this is a little bit of a debate that I think you're going to see tonight of who should be bet. And I think this is, to me, where you kind of have to pull back from what a team maybe should do versus what a team is going to do. Rachaad White last year established himself as the guy in that Tampa Bay backfield. Was not wildly efficient on the ground. It was only 3.6 yards per carry. He only had 6 rushing touchdowns, but just 10 yards short of a 1,000-yard season. But his receiving work was notable. 64 grabs, over 500 yards receiving. Rachaad White is not going to be someone that Tampa Bay tosses out. Now, maybe you think they should. Bucky Irving is averaging 5.8 yards per rush. He is nearly 100 yards clear of Rachaad White, despite 6 less carries. He has the rushing touchdown. Rachaad White does not. I get it. Rachaad White is still this team's lead running back. Tonight, when they take the field, Rachaad White will be out there first, not Bucky Irving. So you cannot, in my eyes, have Rachaad White booked 10 yards south of Bucky Irving. You just can't. And I was going to just play the straight Rachaad White rush number, but I mentioned his inefficiency on the ground that dated back even to last season. This year it's well worse at 2.8, and eventually he'll break out for a few big explosive runs, and that could happen tonight against Atlanta, who have allowed 70 yards rushing, by the way, to all of the top 4 running backs they've faced so far this season. Every single team has had an RB go for 70+. And by the way, it's not been star on star. I mean, yes, Jahmyr Gibbs is a star. Saquon's a star. Najee Harris? Carson Steele? Definitely not. So I think Rachaad White can get there, but he's going to need double-digit rush attempts, which he has, by the way, in 3 of the 4 games. The exception was when they lost by nearly 20 to Denver and trailed for the vast majority of that football game. So, again, that was a team that was down 14-0 at the end of the first quarter, 20-7 at the end of the first half. So I feel good about Rachaad White tonight, getting over the 9.5 as far as we go with the rush attempts. I mentioned the Bijan bet that I'm on. as well. I just want to talk a little bit more about the big picture of this football game, and then we're going to kind of bounce it around a little bit before Donnie Rightside gets here at 6:30. We'll get his picks for Brewers-Mets, along with his thoughts, of course, Thursday Night Football. Talk a little Devontae Adams, the Jets, with that heavy, heavy buzz that we've heard around all of that. But on this 2.5-point spread, I wanted to bet Atlanta when I saw this number. I'm high on New Orleans. It's what allowed me to bet New Orleans last week at +3 against the Falcons. I like the spot for New Orleans as well. I look at Falcons-Bucks, especially when this number was 1.5. I think the Saints are still the most talented of this trio. The Bucks are not fully healthy, by the way, right? Wide receivers 3 and 4 down. You're still without Antoine Winfield. You're still without your starting right tackle. The Falcons are a little bit healthier in this football game than they were against the Saints, and it's under a field goal. So the number to me is all Atlanta. It really is. I think we might be able to get better in game though. I think it's on the board. If Tampa comes out super slow, then and the Falcons get up big, okay, so what? So be it. I'd love to see if I could clip a +3.5 on the Falcons live, which is a good time to remind you we'll be live tonight for all of Thursday Night Football. Myself, Donnie Rightside, and Joe Lisi, wall-to-wall coverage here on the grid for a huge one in the NFC South. A huge one tonight in Major League Baseball. One more game until the DS series are all set. We'll talk about it next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
After a very promising start to this season, could it be already done for KC's wide receiver, Rashee Rice, attempting to make a tackle after Patrick Mahomes threw an interception?
We're used to teams saying, we don't know, MRI. Here, Andy Reid's being a little more honest. He's leaving hope alive, but I think they already know, which is really, really too bad.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, back to right here on SportsGrid. Tonight, we've got the Milwaukee Brewers hosting the New York Mets in the final game of the wild card round. The other three series all went 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. San Diego, so far the only home team that's advanced. They take out the Atlanta Braves. In doing so, took out the National League future that I had. Pretty incredible that, at least so far, the only dog that didn't get through was the dog that I needed to get through. Of course, the Orioles preseason World Series ticket up in flames as Kansas City shows up to town and completely shuts down the Orioles offense. They'll play the New York Yankees. The Guardians go in division as they match up with the Detroit Tigers, who took out the Houston Astros. You see there of the divisional series, just the one spot remaining for the Mets and the Brewers. Minus 126, your number on Milwaukee. The Mets are at a plus 108. If you look at your two starters tonight, Tobias Myers gets the ball for the Brewers, and then Jose Quintana gets the baseball for the New York Mets. Quintana has been really, really good for the Mets. You look at his last 6 starts. Only once has he allowed more than 2 runs, ironically, against the Brewers in his final start of the regular season. But in that stretch of the 6 starts, 4 of them, he tossed scoreless baseball. You look at Tobias Myers, and he actually went against Quintana in that game when we were looking at the back end of that regular season. He threw 4 scoreless innings, actually only gave up 1 hit, but a lot more hittable in this game. So I'd lean a little bit towards Quintana. I think circumstance was probably factoring into your last Saturday's game when we saw Brewers-Mets, but it was a shorter line on Milwaukee, so a little bit of value, I think, on that Mets at plus 108, give or take, price that we are seeing right now. Would likely shade under as well. Look, this has been the heaven-sent series of offense with so far 20 runs put on the board. I'm pretty sure they could have played a 25-game series in Baltimore. We wouldn't have been able to get 20 runs with the way that thing was going. My gosh, what a headache that was. So I'd look Mets. I'd look under. I think the interesting thing is it worth trying to clip one of these teams at a big ticket in the National League outright market? Brewers are 11-1. Mets are 14-1. Just make the comparison to the Royals. Really should make it to the Tigers, but I'll make it to the Royals. The Royals are plus 450 to beat the New York Yankees, or to win the American League. They're playing the Yankees, who are at a plus 105 price. If you look for the Mets or the Brewers, you're going to be going up against the Phillies team, who's not going to be, I don't think the Phillies are going to jump the Dodgers. So that number's going to hold. You're talking about Brewers-Mets 5-1, if not shorter, right? 6-1 at most, I would say, is the number. You're 11-1, you're 14-1 right now. Now, you want to have confidence that they can get through the Philadelphia Phillies, but here's where my perhaps annoying commentary is also just accurate with what we've seen. It doesn't really matter how the Mets or Brewers match up with the Phillies. It doesn't matter what you've seen in the regular season. The idea right now with the baseball playoffs is flip a coin. It's what we're getting. It really is. And if that's what we're getting, well, 14-1 and 11-1 when you need the coin to land your way twice, not a bad idea. You know, I know someone yesterday, they reached out to me and said, oh, man, I got to get involved with the Yanks, man. I got to get involved with the Yanks. I think the number they were able to go was around plus 130. Once the divisional series, we're all set. I've heard a lot of chatter. Man, if the Yankees do not get through to the American League, what a disgrace that is. Well, hold on. Looks like we're trying to have our cake and eat it too. I keep being told that baseball is a complete lottery when the playoffs begin. It's all about hot baseball, pitching matchups. Anybody can win it. I've heard all season long that the Yankees aren't even that good. I've heard all season long about how dangerous the Kansas City Royals are. That we haven't respected the Cleveland Guardians. And again, apparently, Tariq Skubal, Randy Johnson, now all of a sudden, he's going to pitch 8 times in a 7-game series if he sees the New York Yankees. This is the stuff that we're getting here. So, again, I wouldn't bet the Yankees at that short number due to the crapshoot nature that the baseball playoffs have felt like underneath the new format. I wouldn't do it. I just think it's interesting that the same people who keep saying it's anybody's race are also saying the Yankees are on fraud watch. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't add up. It really doesn't. I'd like to think the Yankees will get through. I'll just tell you this. If you have a future, you root your future. You're a fan of one of these Central teams, be a fan. You're anybody else, you root the Yankees. Like Red Sox fans, if you really love baseball, you're rooting on the New York Yankees. There's no way you're watching the World Series if the Cleveland Guardians are in it. I mean, come on now. Save yourself. I'm trying to save.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
After a very promising start to this season, could it be already done for KC's wide receiver, Rashee Rice, attempting to make a tackle after Patrick Mahomes threw an interception?
We're used to teams saying, we don't know, MRI. Here, Andy Reid's being a little more honest. He's leaving hope alive, but I think they already know, which is really, really too bad.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, it's Game Time Decisions. We're with you here on SportsGrid on a Thursday. I'm Kevin Walsh. I'm joined by Donnie Rightside. And Donnie, we've got the baseball playoffs here starting to heat up. The divisional series now one game away. What do you think about this game with the Brewers and the Mets tonight?
It's a tough one. It really is, because every once in a while you look at games that are kitchen sink games. Now, granted, in the playoffs, a lot of them are, but tonight, the true kitchen sink game, Kevin, what do you actually get here? What do you get? Well, if you lose, you go home. If you win, you advance, and you head towards Philadelphia to play. For my money overall, if we're being honest, looking at this game, I don't like any RBI props tonight, Kevin. But I do think the better pitcher on the mound is from Milwaukee tonight, and I'd rather take a Milwaukee money line. You never hear me say that. Hey, take the money line of a baseball team. I'm usually trying to angle up which pitchers I'm going to get. But tonight, after a few, 1, 2, or 3 innings, who knows who's even pitching the rest of the way?
Well, that's a really important point, and that's what makes a game like this really difficult. Like, I know for me throughout the baseball season, when I was going through games, and you and I have talked about this a lot on money line and things like that, but I started to use splits more, right? I don't have all the advanced numbers like you, but certainly starting to use numbers more. It's a numbers game, Major League Baseball, right? Sure. For a while I was doing myself, I think, a disservice in betting on baseball. But with that said, if a game had an opener, threw it off my card. Not touching it, or at least that side of the dish, right? I wanted nothing to do with it. These games tonight could be very opener-esque. But I want to get to what you just said there, because on the surface, especially knowing that you usually use last 30 days, it looks like Quintana's been the better pitcher over Tobias Myers. So is it underlying statistics saying that Myers is better than his numbers suggest, or Quintana's more vulnerable?
You got to take a look at everything, Kevin, because I like to look at 60 days, more importantly with the XFIP numbers, because I like to get more involved in it. And also I'm going to take a look at the last 30 days. Now, for me, the last 30 days means more actually with the batters than it does the pitchers, because last 30 days in pitching, hey, I got 92, let's just say, total batters that I faced as a pitcher, which we're talking about Quintana tonight. But he does have great splits over the past 30 days, which is weighted on base percentage and ISO power numbers against. Now, here's the problem. You get into those numbers I really like to see, the XFIP numbers, and you date it 60 days out. Tobias Myers, the better pitcher overall by almost one full number, or 1 full, I should say, percentage point there to take a look at. So for me, lineups are comparable tonight. I just think the better pitchers with Milwaukee, and that's the way I side tonight.
All right, so a little bit of love there in the market then from Donnie on the Brewers. But I'm curious, would you apply that? Now, I know it's up against your Phils.
Yep.
Do you think it would be worth it, though, right? Let's say you loved Milwaukee, and maybe you don't love them that much, but would it be worth it at all to consider they're 11-1 to win the NL? Or do you think they're going to be just outmatched by the Phils next round?
They're just going to be outmatched. I mean, I think, but to be honest, I think both of the teams will be outmatched because it is about pitching. It is about bullpen here in the playoffs. And when you look at the Philadelphia Phillies, you're staring down the barrel of Sanchez, Nola, and Wheeler. When the other team's like, we don't know who we're going to throw in game number one. When the Phillies absolutely know who they're going to throw in game number one, it's going to be Zach Wheeler. In a 5-game set, Wheeler wins game number one, the same way we talked about Tarek Skubal winning game number one in a 3-game set. It means more than a 7-game set. I don't think either one of those teams are going to beat the Philadelphia Phillies, but if I am a Phillies fan, I say to myself now, which team would you rather not play? Technically, it would be the Mets. Why? Because they played better baseball down the stretch over the past 60 days than the Milwaukee Brewers. So that's the way I would lean from a Phillies perspective once that next round starts.
Now, let me ask you this, though, with kind of just the big picture stuff. And I know you and I have talked about this plenty in different spots, so we'll talk about it here. If you look at it right now, and I don't know if I should throw the Guardians in, but I will. Yankees, Guardians, Dodgers, Phillies. To me, I still tend to feel like that should make up our World Series in some way.
Yeah.
But baseball has, in recent history, told us that's not going to happen. I feel like that's damning of the system. You feel like it's just more about how even everybody is across the sport.
The parity of Major League Baseball is what it's about, and also who's playing well at the end. And I try to equate it, Kevin, when we talk on money line. Imagine if LeBron James only got to play every 3 days in the NBA. You'd say, well, wait a second. You can't do it in baseball, meaning that a pitcher can only go every 5 days, but also more importantly, your position player impacts the game 4 times over 9 innings, not every single inning, so it does weigh out. But for my money, we're not going to probably see that exact series. Why? I think San Diego's going to beat San Diego's going to beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. I really do. And also, there is a little bit of a tug of war in the American League on who the best team is. You see the top of the mountaintop, you would think it's the Yankees, and I agree. But once you get past Garrett Cole, it's not like, okay, we got another shutdown guy in our 2, 3, or 4 spot at that point. You just don't.
Yeah, man, the Dodgers thing's really interesting to me, DRS, because I know the Padres have been playing awesome baseball. They were 50-50, was it? And then they just kind of took off. But the Dodgers are still loaded. And you look at game number one, right? Cease Flaherty. I don't know if you could pull up the guys before they start, like what the numbers would look like.
Yeah.
I imagine the numbers would favor Cease.
Yes.
This is kind of my sticking point. The Dodgers are still favored to win that baseball game. The books don't hand out free money, right?
Yeah.
It's all encompassing. As much as starting pitching matters a ton, it is not all that matters. It is not, does your guy have better numbers? Cool, boom, you win. It's not a video game, right?
No.
The Dodgers are still favorites. I almost now feel like people are looking past the Dodgers way too much.
I don't know if it's – the Dodgers obviously deserve to be the favorites, number one, because sports books actually move those numbers based on bets that are coming in. The Dodgers actually got a ton of bets this season, no doubt about it. And also, you're looking at them, which they might have the 2 best players in baseball on the same team, which is crazy. You line up and you say, okay, how do you start that 1-2 punch? And it's like, my goodness, Shohei Ohtani's going to lead off, and then we're going to get Mookie Betts right behind him. So I understand that. They have quality starting pitching, a great 1 through 9, and a decent bullpen. But when you look at the playoffs and how it resonates and what you think makes the most sense, I think the better starting pitching staff, Kevin, is with San Diego. I think they have a comparable 1 through 9, but it's not as good as the Dodgers, I'll admit it. But the bullpen's better. It's better for the Padres. And it's a shorter series, so if I think you can say, okay, Dylan Cease backed up by Michael King, you might be 2-0 after the first 2 games.
My thing, though, let me ask you this. Like, home field advantage just means nothing in this sport? Like, is that where we are now with Donnie, with home field advantage just being – because the Dodgers this season were 52-20.
I believe it is a lot of it.
Is that really what we're doing?
Different time frame, different time zones and stuff like that where, and again, you're not used to playing there. You think the Dodgers, whoa, Petco Park, never seen this place before. See it all the time. Same thing at Dodger Stadium.
I've always viewed home field advantage. I mean, listen, so travel's a part of it. The NFL, college football, right?
Yep.
When you're, even in the NBA, like it's, I get what you're saying. But it's also just like, in your building, you are in your routine, and you have your fans that can, on a dime, turn a game up in your favor to 100, right? it's really valuable when you're trying to make a comeback, I feel, more than anything. But, again, in the American League, 4-0 road teams. Like, is that just what the sport is? I don't know. I'm waiting to see how these divisional series play out before I, bang the gavel on it's time for your favorite commissioner to fix things.
Yeah.
But the two best home teams all season long, again, Phillies and Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, Donnie, if we are breaking down, let's call it Brewers.
Yeah.
Brewers, Padres, that is a massive indictment of the system. It is.
But also, when you're looking at home field advantage and say how good those teams are, what do you typically grade it on in a regular season, Kevin? A 3-game set at home.
Yeah.
Like, now you take a look at it and say, okay, if it's a 7-game series, we get 4, you get 3. It's not as if, we play 4 in a row before you get your 3 in a row, if that makes sense. So 1-1, 1-1, 2-1, or whatever it is at that point, you're not getting that full series in your building, which you should have seen it play out in the wild card round where you actually have a home series.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that's where it should have played.
The Royals finished a game above 500 this season, Donnie, on the road.
Yes.
And now they're going to scare
Best pitching in the league now.
I can't stand that. Again, that's where I got really angry, though. It's like, Royals are playing the best baseball.
Watch out the Bronx.
They
Watch
are
out
not.
in the Bronx.
They actively were terrible. They had a 7-game losing streak in September.
They did.
All right, we're going to put the baseball on pause. We're going to get to Thursday Night Football, myself and Donnie. Again, we're live for the entirety of this game. We will also get to Devontae Adams. Is it inevitable? Is he going to be a New York Jet? We'll talk about that with you right here on Sports.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
After a very promising start to this season, could it be already done for KC's wide receiver, Rashee Rice, attempting to make a tackle after Patrick Mahomes threw an interception?
We're used to teams saying, we don't know, MRI. Here, Andy Reid's being a little more honest. He's leaving hope alive, but I think they already know, which is really, really too bad.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, let's make it happen here. It's Game Time Decisions. It's Kevin Walsh. It's Donnie Right Side. And it's a Thursday nighter in Atlanta. DRS, talk to me. What are we seeing for this game here? 2.5-point line, 43.5 total.
Yeah.
I assume it's a prop-heavy night for you.
It is a prop-heavy night for me, and also sort of leaning on that factor of, you know me, I always lean towards the home team on Thursday Night Football, Kevin. We saw some movement earlier talking today, whether it was on the early line or money line. We were sitting at that 1.5 all afternoon. Now we're seeing those lines creep up to 2.5. I don't think we will see a 3, but I also know that we're talking about and lining up, okay, who's more injured at this point. Clearly, the laundry list coming out here on the Tampa Bay side is going to have an impact in this football game. But I do think Atlanta overall should win this game tonight. I don't have a bet on the side, but if I had to bet a side, it would be Atlanta for me, -2.5.
Yeah. Now, I was very much so considering betting Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is that made me pull back. I mentioned earlier, maybe when we're all live tonight, I might jump in if I can see a better number. But the Falcons feel like they might perfect this year, winning every game they don't deserve to win and losing every game that they deserve, like they just should have won kind of thing here. Like the ease to which this team's record feels like the whole thing could be flipped is madness, right? Like it took a lot for them to cross the finish line against New Orleans. But where are you then going into the props market tonight? Who are you really trusting?
It's usually me. You can count, like, set your clock to what's Donnie going to like. Well, there's got to be a couple touchdown passes thrown in there in that point tonight. And there could be, because you have two solid quarterbacks. You have a dome situation and two teams that technically you can move the football on. But the way you move the football against both of these teams, Kevin, for me, is on the ground. And that's where I'm looking tonight. And also, some of those secondary options, I like, not buying at high numbers. Do I think Bijan's going to have a good game tonight? Yeah, I do think he's going to have a good game tonight. If we're looking at Bijan Robinson, let's just say, do I want to take him 60, 70 yards rushing? Not necessarily, but a combination of rushing and receiving 75 yards. I think that's doable for him. Also, Bucky, my boy, is running really well for Tampa Bay. I think the explosiveness could be there. I like myself some Algier. He's hovering around that 34 to 36.5 rushing prop tonight, which I think if he gets 6 to 7 carries, and he will, he busts through that there. I think Bijan Robinson has a legitimate chance to score a touchdown, and the odds reflect that. And also, some of the statistics coming into this game. You don't really throw for touchdowns against either one of these teams. You run the football in. And I know Kevin's pointed out before, a lot of these rushing touchdowns are coming for quarterbacks, which, again, might be a downgrade to the running back position, but also shows there must be good coverage in the red zone here if quarterbacks are running the football in as opposed to throwing it in. For the first time in a long time, Kevin, I'm looking ground game as opposed to the air game tonight.
I think that's very interesting, Donnie. Again, we mentioned kind of the oddness that it's been all quarterback rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like, I just little bit of money. Kirk Cousins, if it comes in, great. If
what about Bake? What about bad boy Bake? And he's a couple rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, listen, shaking Baker Mayfield. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
They win tonight. How real are his MVP chances to you? Forget the stat line.
I mean, you know what? It's funny you say forget the stat line. Like, we should bring up the stat line. Like, he's had a pretty good season so far overall. And tonight, let's just say he does throw 2 touchdown passes, which, again, isn't 4 or 5 touchdowns. Why not? Like, we praise guys like Patrick Mahomes for just getting his team's victories. Why not Baker Mayfield? Did we not realize that he went into Detroit and picked up a victory there and then could have a big primetime win again here on Thursday Night Football against a division rival, which will give his team a 2.5-game lead early in the season? Why not?
We'll do a little game now. So there's 28-1 to win the award.
Yeah.
Right? If they win, they go to 4-1. We assume 252, right? Something like 250 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. So he's at 28-1. At 25-1, you have Dak and Hurts. He jumps them with just a victory and a solid night and going to 4-1.
Yes, I'll say yes.
Burrow's at 22, Goff's at 20.
Yeah,
you think he gets through both of them?
I don't think so. Because even though we think that Baker Mayfield, again, he'll be 4-1 with a couple big victories, I think people still go, that's Baker Mayfield. Is he an MVP?
This is why I don't understand why Darnold's 11-1. That's what I don't understand.
Just the hype.
Why is Darnold 11-1?
Because you're trying to grab something from the Vikings at this point. Say they've been really good. They played some really good competition. He's been actually good. That's why they're taking. I just need a piece. I just need a piece.
But that's the piece. I'd much rather I think bet the O'Connell number. So this is why we did this earlier on Tuesday, Donnie, on Game Time, and I did what I think are the 5 best bets you can make in the MVP market.
Okay.
Right, and. So I ranked them 5 through 1. Surprise, I didn't tell you about it. I'm on Purdy again. I'm doing the MVP Purdy thing again. I'll make my case if you don't believe me. But I mentioned as one of the 5 best bets you can make is Justin Fields at 50-1.
Yeah.
If they beat Dallas on Sunday night, he goes to 4-1. How is Darnold 5 times more likely to win the award than Justin Fields? I don't see that at all.
Well, again, it's just the way the teams are operating right now. The darling of the NFL is the Minnesota Vikings right now. So I look at that and say to myself, oh, my goodness, I got to get that guy. Not Justin Jefferson, not take a look at the running back position.
So what if they lose to the Jets? Is he 200?
He tanks back down. He drops because it's like if Patrick Mahomes takes a loss, right? You're like, well, he's not going to move that much because he's going to rebound.
Yeah.
Now, Figured him out already. Darn, he might not even win again.
Missed the playoffs.
Yes.
Missed the playoffs.
Yep. Give me J.J. McCarthy
Rush
on one
back.
leg. Get him out of here.
Okay.
Exactly. Yes.
It does kind of feel that way. Let me throw my Purdy logic out at you.
Okay.
To see if I can sell you on this. It's a simple. So he was 18-1 when I placed the wager, and it was over on DK. He's sitting 14-1 on FanDuel right now. To me, he has the perfect 3 games where if he goes 3-0, I think he's the favorite. They play Arizona this Sunday, maybe the worst defense in football, so I think he has to light them up a little bit. We're talking maybe 3 passing touchdowns, 285 yards, something in that range. After that, primetime standalone Thursday, Seattle. If he wins, they're in first place in the division. All right, that's the boost. And then it's the mini-bye, and then that third game, they host the Chiefs. He beats Pat head-to-head. They win 3 in a row. They're 5-2. I think he's a league MVP. There's no more McCaffrey he has to deal with. No. His biggest roadblock is gone.
No, you're right. And also, like, we sort of equate that setup, which is great that you're looking forward to say, I think he can manage his stretch. It's the same way I look at Josh Allen at now the plus 350, not the plus 250, and say to myself, oh, no, he's got roadblocks that are continuously set up against him, and I don't know if he's going to be able to handle it at that point. So for me and my money, I think it's a pretty good argument for Brock Purdy. I just don't see it when it's all boils out. I'm just waiting to see because Josh Allen goes 2-0 the next 2 weeks, and away we go. He's going to knock out Patrick Mahomes of that MVP race at this point.
So, again, funny enough, like I mentioned Stroud as one of the best bets you can make.
Yeah.
Because if he beats Josh, I think he's just going to jump Josh. Then he'll be 4-1. Allen will have lost 2 in a row. Like I think all the Allen hype will come crashing down, whether it should or shouldn't, if they lose in Sunday to the Houston Texans. Could Josh Allen, though, add Devontae Adams? Maybe. Let's talk a little bit about that whole situation right here on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think GameTime Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to GameTime Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than GameTime Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into GameTime Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
After a very promising start to this season, could it be already done for KC's wide receiver, Rashee Rice, attempting to make a tackle after Patrick Mahomes threw an interception?
We're used to teams saying, we don't know, MRI. Here, Andy Reid's being a little more honest. He's leaving hope alive, but I think they already know, which is really, really too bad.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're back with you right here. It's Game Time Decisions. If we had 20 minutes left, the old In Play Sports Tonight bit was tease something and then never get to it because I've teased Devontae twice.
Sure.
I would love to blow it off again. We'll just do it on in-game. But I want to ask you about one specific angle with the Devontae Adams situation that you have been hinting at for I think years since he showed up, which is Devontae Adams showing up and Garrett Wilson being like, no, I didn't sign up for this.
Oh, my goodness.
Hold on a second now. And I got to tell you, the more I think about it, Donnie, I honestly feel like this is going to end up becoming like a segmented football team if Devontae gets there, where it's Rodgers and his guys and everybody else.
Yeah.
And I really feel like the Jets need to be very careful about adding a player who I still think is super talented.
Yeah, no, you're exactly correct. And just knowing how wide receivers go through it, they want to be the man. Garrett Wilson is supposed to be the man with the New York Jets, and he gets a Hall of Fame quarterback. Now that Hall of Fame quarterback is gone. Like, I bought in multiple wideouts already that my friends. Now I'm bringing the ultimate equalizer, because if you go back to the last couple years in Green Bay, the only guy he threw to, it didn't matter if anybody else was wide open, was Devontae Adams. Yeah. So my solution to this is, yes, Jets, you want to make that trade? You know who's going to be in that trade instead of a first-round pick? It's going to be Garrett Wilson going back to the Raiders, and the Raiders would love that pick.
I just don't. Again, usually I'd be like, Donnie, come on, you're being crazy, but Garrett Wilson's already struggling for touches. Like, it feels like Rodgers is going to, like, blow off Breece Hall. Like, we're going to end up with Lisi having his best I said it ever, where Braylon Allen is the number one running back on this Jets team because Rodgers likes him more than Breece Hall.
Yeah, and Breece Hall's checked out at that point because he's angry too. And all, like, what did we get Mike Williams for the Jets? I thought we had the perfect offense coming into the season for Rodgers, and he goes, you know what? I don't like this. I need another top-flight wide receiver at $30+ million a year. But I will tell this. The Jets do make sense because they are building to say, we have a year and a half left of football, and then we'll be an embarrassment for 5 years. You might as well push all your chips in.
Because here's where I think the like full culmination of this is an in-season firing of Robert Saleh, allowing Hackett to be the interim head coach and Rodgers getting everything he wants. Like, that's what it really it feels like. He is just trying to rebuild old Green Bay in with the Jets, and this is what we've laughed at for a while. Like, Rodgers, when he gets power, does not do well with it. Like, it's when he got all the power in Green Bay, and he was like, excellent, bring back Randall Cobb. And they're like,
Coomer.
That's all you want? You don't want, like, all right, can we still keep drafting 0 wide receivers or really any talent for you? Like, can we keep taking corners? And that's all that would happen there. I just, Devontae Adams coming available, which he is, let's be clear. The Raiders are trading him. Was supposed to be like this perfect thing for the Jets because you knew that that's where he would want to go. And by the way, that is where Devontae Adams wants to go. The vibes around it, Donnie, for me are just completely off.
You're right, but here's the problem. Like, if Robert Saleh was the offensive guru and the team looks like this, you'd say, yeah, something has to change. The defense looks good. Yes, they got planted in game number 1 against the 49ers when they were healthy, and of course that's going to change some minds, but over the past couple of games, you don't watch these games. Like, Robert Saleh's going back there and going, you know what? We just gave up 10 points. I lost the game with you, Aaron Rodgers, because we gave up 10 points on defense. It's your fault here. It's not mine. You go, not me.
It's actually a really good point. Again, like, it's all wild to say about a team that I couldn't been hyping up any more going into that game against Denver, despite being on the Broncos. That's a completely different animal. How is Rodgers the one walking around with his chest out and Robert Saleh the one cowering in the corner?
Exactly.
He's like, I did every single thing I always do, which is watch my offense lose me a football game. While my Bo Nix had 60 passing yards.
And beat him. Yep.
Like, that is the unsettling thing. And that's why I think when you look at it from the New York Jets, Donnie, the next 2 games that they play, man, I don't know if it's the season. It's close. You play this, this unstoppable force all of a sudden in Minnesota, right? And let's say you drop that game, they are dogs. Then it's Buffalo or bust. But you have to beat the Bills then on that Monday night at home.
Here's the thing, which you brought up a good point on that game that's going to be played on Sunday morning. If they lose that game, it's panic mode. If they win that game, it's like, okay, calm the waters, settled in, we're going to be just fine. Yeah. Maybe an aberration that we played against the Denver Broncos. But there will be complete panic where Aaron Rodgers might say, like, I'll retire unless you get me Devontae Adams. I'll just walk away.
I think there's, again, or he will angle for Saleh leaving, which feels crazy, but it does feel like that's where we're angling. You said this, and it resonated with me prior to the Eagles getting rolled by Tampa. You're like, thank goodness that bye is coming. And obviously it proved to be true. This team should have took their bye after London. Let me just say that, because they need a chance to kind of reset and regroup here.
They do.
And it is not coming. What is coming, though, is the pregame show for Thursday Night Football, led by Casey Hudson. That's Donnie Rightside. We're joined by Lisi for the in-game watch. Keep it right here on SportsGrid.